Start.
Hey everyone, welcome to Goose's Wrestling. I'm sorry we're delayed. We were counting the votes. We were rigging the election for our leader Donald Trump, so we couldn't
Oh
record
my
it. So
gosh. Our leader, supreme leader, Donald Trump.
our supreme leader Donald Trump. Speaking of our supreme leader Donald Trump, what an appropriate pay-per-view to return to. Once again, Hulk Hogan making sure Kamala jobs to him. We're talking about Full Brawl 95, the hulkamaniacs versus the Dungeon of Doom. And of course, the hulkamaniacs representing Trump's America, and the Dungeon of Doom representing Kamala Harris, Uganda Giant. What did you think of this show?
You know what, man? Hogan always goes over. But I will say this show isn't that bad. It's not bad.
This
Not a
show
bad
is
show.
like two WCWs. There is the WCW for the sickos. There is a half the show's for the sickos, and half the show is like trying to copy WWE from '89.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. But that
Yeah.
makes it for a good show because you're pleasing both worlds.
Well, no, because they do the WWF show. The WWF stuff pretty shitty. But I will say the sicko stuff, the WCW sicko stuff, went over great. So let's get into it. Let's get into Full Brawl damage.
Sicko stuff. Yeah, fall brawl. Let the games begin. Taking place September 17th, 1995 in Asheville, North Carolina. 6,600 people are in attendance. 95,000 pay-per-view buys. That's low. And I'll give you some for comparison. Beach Blast had 160,000 pay-per-view buys. Halloween Havoc, 120. So this is a low number. Why was it so low, man?
I think it's Dungeon of Doom. I don't think people gave a shit about Dungeon of Doom.
No way, dude. Are you kidding me? Dungeon of Doom. That shit was over, bro. That was over. You know what? It's because of Kamala. People just don't want to see.
The other thing
Kamala.
is they promoted Lex too late. Lex gets announced because it's supposed to be Vader in the match, and then Vader gets fired, and Lex decides to jump without telling Vince. I think if they had another week or two to promote that Lex was in the match, I think the number would have gone higher.
Maybe it's because Vader was not going to be there. Because Vader's the real draw, brother.
Yeah. So yeah, the original plan was Vader was going to beat Hogan for the belt, and then they were going to go into this show with like, can Hogan really trust Vader? But again, none of that makes sense because if Vader Vader beats Hogan finally, which is a shocking way to end the second Nitro. I think if Lex doesn't show up, that's a great way to be like anything can happen on the show. But then the Giant thing seems lesser, unless it's the Giant. Yeah, that Giant. Unless the Giant causes Hogan to lose to Vader. I don't know. I guess you do Macho Man versus Vader and Hogan versus the Giant Halloween Havoc. That's a good double main event.
That would be okay too. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and then Hogan comes back to Vader. Like again, where they don't know that Hole and Nash are coming. Hogan goes against Vader like at Starrcade, I guess, again. But then, like, how many times can you do Hogan Vader?
I wouldn't have done that because at this point, Vader and Hogan, you just went to that well one too many times. Right?
Macho Man turns heel, beats Vader for the belt. Hogan Macho Man versus Hogan. Starrcade.
Yeah, Macho Man Hogan is what I would have won. Anyway, another two friends that are going to be talking about two friends who were fighting. We go over the intro for the show, Fall Brawl, and they actually do go over the big matches on the card, including Ric Flair versus Arn Anderson. Two friends going at it, and the War Games afterwards. On commentary, we have Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan. They actually go over the Giant running over Hulk Hogan's motorcycle.
Disgusting act. What a disgusting act.
Was it really his motorcycle?
Probably not. Probably they just bought it.
Of course not. Can you imagine? Like, can we really run over your motorcycle, Hogan, for this?
He probably would have been like, yeah, if you give me like $100,000, then it's worth it.
It was probably Undertaker's motorcycle.
It was like, it was Dustin Rhodes' motorcycle.
Yeah, brother.
Did you ever hear the Jim Ross story?
What?
Did you ever hear the Jim Ross story about his? I make a joke. So Jim Ross had a bunch of stuff in storage, WCW let him put a bunch of appliances in storage, because he was between apartments, right? So then he gets fired, and he's like, okay, but just send me my stuff. Yeah. and they never sent him his stuff. And apparently, like he said, like he kept messaging like Bischoff for like 2 years. Like, are you gonna mail me my refrigerator? Like it was a refrigerator, it was a washer and dryer. Because he was when he got an apartment in I don't know where Connecticut, he was like, well, I still have my like WCW has to send me my stuff, and they never sent the stuff, and then it just got lost.
That's such a weird story. Why would you give your
Like probably he was between
workplace
apartments, he
your
had nowhere to put this stuff, and someone in WCW was like, yeah, just put it like with our stuff, and then you can come grab it later.
Yes, I mean, I guess it was a different. I mean, to me, that's like asking for trouble. But I mean, like you
That's
reap
probably
what
why
you
Vince
sow.
had no respect for Jim Ross. Why would you leave? Why would you
Yeah,
not in
yeah,
storage
exactly.
facility?
It's kind of like to me, it's like I don't like. I'm like, why would you do that, Jim Ross? Why would you? Why would you even do
I
that to
think
begin with?
Bischoff had to like apologize eventually, like in 2002. Like, yeah, I threw
Sorry
out
about
your
your
stuff.
sorry about your refrigerator. Do you know how much Eric? Do you know how much barbecue sauce I had in that fridge? By God,
Dude, Bischoff is
Baba.
Bischoff's walking in the first day, and Jim Ross is standing there like with like a bill, like you owe me for this refrigerator, by God.
Where's my washer? So stupid. Anyway, let's. You know, it's not stupid. This very first match, we're going
Yeah.
into first match. Flying Brian Pillman, who's got a new theme song.
I love it.
Yeah, it's blondes have more fun. It's like that's his gimmick now
Tony
that he's blonde.
Tony Khan Mikey Ruckus should do a ripoff of this song for someone.
Yeah, they actually. If you're interested in this, if you're curious about this, you can actually find the music video for this theme song. Blondes have more fun, and in it is actually his wife, Melanie. She's
Oh,
actually
good.
in it, and she does have a line in it, but it's really funny because I guess like they couldn't trust her, but they dub over her line. So she's
Oh.
speaking, and it's like another voice like
Do you
saying
ever
the line.
see her interview with Vince the night after he dies?
Yeah, where she's kind of crying. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of
there's a reason why you got overdub her.
yeah.
Dude, how do you get? Dude, some of the stuff he. How do you get away? How do you
How
get
did
away?
you get away with that? Yeah, that's kind of like
Dude, like and people like what's well, you know what was so funny? Like they were acting like Bad Blood was such a. Remember they brought back Bad Blood this year,
mm-hmm.
and they were acting like the original was such a classic and what a great night it was. Dude, they found that was the day they found Brian Pillman dead in his hotel room, and like they have completely just like whitewashed that day. The next day they were. Do you know there's a part where Vince McMahon goes, "How are you going to pay your bills now that Brian's dead?" He says
Yeah,
that to her live on the air.
it's you know why Junior did that is because he had already given so much money to Brian Pillman, and he just felt like I need to get my money's worth out of this fucking
Dude, I would
stupid.
love it. You know what? See, I think wrestling should be scummy. Like, I
It
would have
is
loved
already
it.
scummy.
I would love it if Tony Khan said that to what's his name? Fuck Brody Lee's wife on that tribute show. So how are you gonna pay your bills now that your husband's dead? And then he just walked away. And that's the sketch. And see, if that I would approve that from Beyond the Grave. Like, no, do that. Let's recreate that. And just like to see people's reaction.
That would have been really funny if he actually did that. But he's got to do it in his Tony Khan big boy voice, right?
How are you gonna pay your bills? No, your husband's dead.
This is where the best wrestle, but not your husband because he's dead.
Like if I was a wrestler and I was married, I would be like, listen, if I die, I've given permission to the promoters and the other wrestlers to just treat you like garbage on the TV show. But just so you know, it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna make it, and I would just like I feel like you usually have your body desecrated if you're a wrestler. Like no, you don't get any respect.
What do you mean?
Like I think like if I was a wrestler and I died, I don't care how I die. I want to
Oh,
become
he
part.
died. Oh,
What I want to become part of the story. There's no. I don't want any good taste. You can do a storyline where like Damian Priest digs up my body and fucks it. Like I don't care.
well, that's what they that was WWE's excuse for the Eddie Guerrero stuff.
I know, but I would actually be like, no, I want you to really go all the way with this. I want you to go. I want like Dave Meltzer to have a stroke with how far you're going with just. I want like at my funeral, I want like fucking Dominic Mysterio to like just beat the shit out of my wife and kids. Like that's what I want. Like if I was a wrestler.
Okay, you know,
But you wouldn't want that if you were a wrestler? Talk about like as a wrestler.
I don't
Like I
know
want them to
because
use my death to build to like a WrestleMania main event if I die in November.
I guess at that point it wouldn't even matter because I'm dead, so I won't even know.
Yeah, and I
Like
think it'd be
I'm
fine.
already
Like
dead. I
that's
don't even. Yeah.
okay. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, let's get back to this. All right. So we got Flying Brian, the new blonde Flying Brian versus Johnny B. Bad. He doesn't have a new song, by the way. He has the same old Johnny B. Bad song, but he's got frisbees now. He's got frisbees, and he's. Do you remember who had frisbees before in WCW?
Yeah.
It was the Surfer dudes. It was
Oh,
D
the
Shane.
dynamic dudes. The dynamic dudes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the dynamic
Well,
dudes. Shane.
now they graduated college. Now they're teachers. Well, at least Dean
Yeah,
does.
they originally had the frisbees and they would throw it into audience. Well, Johnny B. Bad's doing the same gimmick, but the only difference is he sucks at it. So there's this point where he's throwing the frisbees into the audience, and then he throws one right into the turnbuckle. he just fucking flung it right into the turnbuckle. People, you could see some people laughing at him when he does that. It's stupid. Anyways, they're both supposed to be good guys in this match, Pillman and Johnny B. Bad. So they do mention that the winner of this match, the reason why they're fighting actually is because the winner is going to face Sting for the U.S. title. So they shake hands at the beginning because they're both good guys. Bobby Heenan, there's a Bobby Heenan for president sign in the audience.
I agree. They should make a president. Actually, he would be a better president right now than Trump and Kamala in his current state.
Yeah, yeah, he would be. He would be awesome. I like that sign. So they start wrestling, and something happened. They're just wrestling a technical match. No hard hits because they're both supposed to be good guys. But something happens where Brian Pillman puts a
Wait, you say
headlock.
Johnny B. Black?
What?
Sound like you were about to say Johnny B. Black.
Johnny B. Black. That's his name. That's his new name. Yeah, Johnny B. Black. He gets put in a headlock and he's all bloody in his face. And I think what happened, I try to rewatch it, when Brian Pillman gives him like a head scissor takedown, something, I guess part of his boot must have scraped his face, but he's bleeding. He's going to be bleeding the rest of this match. Johnny, he actually ends up shoving down Brian Pillman, which gets cheers from the audience as Brian Pillman starts wrestling dirty. Like he's starting to do like heel tactics. At the 5 minute mark, Johnny B. Bad, he suplexes Brian Pillman outside, and then he hits a plancha, but Flying Brian cuts off the momentum by hitting him with like a really cool, heavy looking drop kick. It was a good spot. Pillman then hits a tombstone for a 2 count at the 3 minute mark. Remember, there's a time limit for this match. And when there's 30 seconds left, Johnny B. Bad hits the Tutti Frutti, but Brian Pillman gets his foot under the rope. So the ref doesn't count it. But then Pillman hits the air Pillman when 10 seconds left, but he only gets a 2 count and a time runs out. And Nick Patrick says, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're going to restart this match. We're going to keep going. We got to get a real winner. They restart the match. They start fighting on the floor. Both men are exhausted at this point. And Johnny B. Bad, he hits a very beautiful top rope sunset flip cover that he always does. Nobody actually does it better than he does, in my opinion. And
yes,
however,
but he's a bad worker. Remember, Vince said.
Yeah, I don't know where this Johnny B. Bad is a bad worker comes from because you know the TKO,
Yeah,
that move, he invented that.
Well, it comes from the fact that Mick Foley and Steve Austin were very bitter that when they entered the company, he was supposed to be given the brass ring, and they still kind of hold it against him. I think.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So it's more like
Even
jealousy.
though like he basically got chased out of the business and they became like legends, they still like feel very bitter that Vince thought he was the marketable one. But I don't know. I don't think that's such a big stretch. You know.
Yeah, I think your theory is actually probably correct about why people like Austin and Mick Foley are like, oh, he's not as good as I am. He stinks, you know. And granted, yeah, Johnny B. Bad is not as good as they are, but he doesn't stink either, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, They keep fighting. Johnny B. Bad hits his Bad Day Frankensteiner finisher, but it only gets a 2 count as well. And then Johnny B. Bad, he goes up on top, and he sends Brian Pillman to the guardrail. Johnny B. Bad hits his finishing bad mood moonsault somersault plancha, but Brian Pillman gets his knees up when Johnny B. Bad goes for another splash. So back and forth, Johnny B. Bad's hitting with all these moves, but Brian Pillman just keeps kicking out. Eventually, they run the ropes, and then they do a double crossbody. But Johnny B. Bad, he's able to turn over and cover Brian Pillman from that double crossbody to win, which gets a huge pop when he wins. I thought that I gave this match, even though Johnny B. Bad is a terrible wrestler, I gave this match an A minus. It's a very good match, very good opening match.
This was a great match, and here's the other thing: you can see Brian Pillman is finally getting his persona together. Like,
Yeah,
he definitely has much more presence. I think a great thing with Brian Pillman was he always was a great worker. He carries himself now more like a star, even more so than he was with the Hollywood Blondes. And this is where we're about to see him take go to the next level. The only thing that held him back and eventually ended his life was that motorcycle accident. If he didn't have that motorcycle accident, I think we'd be talking about him like we talk about The Undertaker and Mankind and a lot of other people. He reaches a second gear here and also he's just a great worker. I don't know, it feels like he's coming into his own. He's becoming what Shawn Michaels thinks he is, which is a great worker and a cool guy.
See, I'm going to disagree, and I'll tell you why. Even if he never got in a motorcycle accident, I don't think he would have ever reached a peak because I think drugs would have fucked him up bad.
But he increased the drugs because of the motorcycle accident.
I think he would have increased the drugs even if he never got in a motorcycle accident. I think he was on a path of destruction regardless, in my opinion. Like, there's some guys where you go like,
Yeah,
this guy will always be this guy's his own worst enemy. I feel like Pillman would have been one of those people. I honestly believe.
well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like a lot of people are on. I think Pillman. Okay, I think Pillman would have died, but I think it would have been around the time like Mr. Perfect and British Bulldog died, which gives him 5 more years to cement his legacy. So
Okay, that's fair enough.
I think you're right about that. I don't think he'd be alive today.
We can both agree. Drugs were gonna finish off Brian Pillman regardless.
I think he wouldn't be alive today, but what I'm saying is I think like his 96 and 97 look very different in WWE because he could wrestle he could probably have matches with Bret Hart where he's jumping off the top. He couldn't do any of those moves anymore once he got to WWF. He was damaged goods, which is why he like does nothing for a long time.
Yeah, and he would have had all these ready-made feuds too in WWE. Yeah. All right. So after that, we got Mean Gene Okerlund. He's with Ric Flair, and they're cutting a promo on Arn Anderson. He's talking about their bond, their friendship. And he says, Arn, I love you, but there's only one king. Great Ric Flair promo. Loved it.
And that's Mabel. Woo!
Yeah. We go to match number 2. We got this guy in the ring. His name's Cobra. He's a CIA special agent, right? And he's standing in the ring, and he's going to be facing his old arch nemesis, Sergeant Craig Pittman. And he's waiting out there. Because remember, both these guys are like military dudes. And he's waiting in the ring, facing the entrance way for Craig Pittman to come. But he's not coming out. His music played, but he's not coming out. Instead, a cadet walks out. It's do you know who this cadet is?
It's a young wrestler, right? Who is it?
Prince Iaukea.
Baby, let me tell you something.
Yeah, the remember he would go on to be the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's the artist about to be known as Prince Iaukea.
Yeah. So I don't think he's probably at their training facility, the power plant or whatever. But he's doing this. He comes out anyway. He's a cadet. He's not Prince, and he starts arguing with Craig Pillman, with the Cobra on the apron. So Cobra is distracted, and as he's distracted, Craig Pittman, he starts coming down from the ceiling and off, I guess, what is that, like a rope, right? He comes down like a special ops. He unhooks, and then he crawls through. Remember, there's 2 rings. He crawls through the rings, and then he comes up behind Cobra, and he chokes him out in front of what do you call it? He chokes him out, and then he throws him out in the ring. He throws him out like right in front of one of the ring attendant girls who's getting all the like the gear,
Yeah.
and she
Mhm.
shrieks really loud when he tosses him, which added an extra effect to that. And then this Cobra's out of it. Pittman pulls him back in the ring, applies his cold red armbar to win the match. Very quick. I gave this a B, and I'll tell you why. It was really good. I love the way it was done. Craig Pittman, the way he came crawling in there, it actually did make him look like he knows what he's doing in special ops stuff. And afterwards, he looks right into the camera and he's like, "Another good day for the core." I fucking loved it. I actually remember now why I loved Craig Pittman so much. This guy was so great. You didn't like it?
I didn't like this. And I'll tell you why. They had these vignettes hyping up Cobra. They were treating him like he's a big deal, and to have him lose this fast is kind of like, then why even film the vignettes? Why even do anything with this guy? Like, I understand what you're saying, but it's like you built this guy up to be like this top character, and then you just immediately like give up on him. And I didn't really like it that much. And he winds up becoming a jobber, and then he becomes NWO Sting Cobra.
Oh, this is Jeff Farmer.
Yes,
That's right. Uh-huh. Um, maybe like they were gonna give him this big push, but then like I don't know, Paul Orndorff was like, "Hey, let me see your penis," and he's like, "No," and he's like, "You know what? This guy's stuck up.
no,
Let's not give him a push."
Pat Patterson.
Yeah, this guy's stuck up. He don't deserve it. He's not one of the boys. um, Tony Schiavone. Actually, speaking of Paul Orndorff, Tony Schiavone recaps what's been happening with Paul Orndorff. I
Yeah,
didn't even plan that. Paul Orndorff, like he lost to Randy Savage, and they show a video of him in the backstage dressing room, just losing his shit, just losing his cool in the dressing room, throwing stuff, and he's like looking in the mirror, going like, "What are you? You're not even a wrestler anymore." And all of a sudden, Gary Spivey comes in.
of the Psychic Friends Network.
I have no idea who this guy was, right?
He's a
He comes
legend.
in. Paul Orndorff is shocked. If you guys don't know what this guy looks like, by the way, he's still alive. He's some kind of psychic. And he wears like this giant, like fake wig, like
It's
fake
like, but it's
afro.
like it's made out of like It's made out of like styrofoam.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an afro. He's a white guy. It's supposed to be an afro, but it's like made out of styrofoam. It's like a fake afro. And Gary Spivey comes in and he goes, Paul, I know what your problems are because I'm a psychic. And he says, Paul, I want you to repeat after me. You're Mr. Wonderful. And he goes, look in the mirror. And I want you to repeat after me. He goes, I'm Mr. Wonderful. And Paul starts going, yeah, I am Mr. Wonderful. And he convinces Paul Orndorff that he is Mr. Wonderful. And Paul Orndorff starts kissing himself in the mirror. This was so weird. I loved it. I gave it an A plus. This backstage promo.
This is one of the most famous horrible promos of all time, and it is something to see. It is something to
Yes.
see. I advise everyone. It goes on and on. It's not good. I almost feel like they knew it was bad, and they were like, "No, we got to air," because this was already aired on the Clash of the Champions or something, and then they re-aired it here, and I think they're like, "This is so bad, it's good again." So let's
Yes.
show it. And this is kind of like the end of the road for Mr. Wonderful as a in ring. He becomes an agent after this, but man, it's something to see. It's so bad, it's good again. You're Mr. Wonderful, and you're wonderful too, and you know you're wonderful. I know things. You're wonderful.
You know what they should do? NXT should one
Bring
day
back Gary Spivey.
just bring back Gary Spivey and have him do it like who they should do it with? They should do it with Ludwig, not Ludwig. What's his name? Giovanni Vinci.
Vinci.
Yeah, they should do it with Giovanni Vinci.
You're
That would be
wonderful.
hilarious.
And they
I would love
call him Das what. It should be Giovanni Vinci's manager. Oh no, he's Italian. That wouldn't make any sense. Sorry. So say
Santino
Alex.
Morello.
Alex Wright. I was gonna say Alex. Well, it's Santino's in TNA.
Yeah, well, it could be like, hey, Santino, your daughter's working here. You want to just work in the same company? He'll do it. Let's go to match number 3. It is for the TV title. Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll and his backup, Max Muscle, versus the champion, the Renegade, who comes out with Jimmy Hart. DDP takes a cheap shot to start the match. Then DDP headbutts him, and then I guess Renegade's head is much harder, so he falls out the ring and he walks into the ring post.
Okay.
Playing the bumbling heel gimmick. Diamond Doll. So I guess part of the gimmick is she has to hold up tens whenever DDP does something good, and she's getting really
Yeah.
annoyed at holding up tens as DDP just continues beating on the Renegade until DDP once again, like a bumbling fool, spears the ring post instead of the Renegade. Renegade does a really cool. He does a really good cartwheel back elbow, kind of like the Muda.
Okay.
But then he gets his trying to go up the top rope. He gets his foot stuck between those two rings, which I thought was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
DDP, so it kind of reminded me of like, oh, you know what? Even if he does a good move, at the end of the day, he's still the Renegade. This guy stinks. DDP hits a really great looking jumping DDT, and then Max Muscle gets on the apron, and DDP and Max Muscle they bonk heads, and then Renegade goes up on top. Uh, but instead of jumping on DDP, he decides to jump on Max Muscle on the outside, and this allows DDP to recover. Then Max holds Renegade's leg without the ref seeing for DDP to hit the diamond cutter on Renegade to win the title. And then they showed a very annoyed Diamond Doll who has to act like she's annoyed that DDP lost, but I'm won, but she's a terrible actress herself. This was a C. This was terrible. Renegade is not a good wrestler. He stinks.
He stinks. DDP's not there at the time.
No, he's
Uh,
not there either. He's playing this
he's not
heel,
there.
man. Yeah.
But it's clear that they've given up on the Renegade experiment. Horrible match. You know, at the time, I didn't get it because I thought that there's nothing with DDP. But you know what? Hey, man, that was the right call because look what DDP becomes. So,
Yeah, but in this whole match, there's like Max Muscle really is nothing. That's
no, it's
Kimberly
horrible.
Page. That's Kimberly Page, right? Diamond Doll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
she
hard, but it's a
stinks
horrible.
too.
It's horrible.
Yeah, everybody in this is not good, and it's just not good.
Everyone should be ashamed of themselves. That's it.
They should. They should. Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, they recap how Sherry Martel, she got a concussion, and because of that concussion, she now is starting to has the hots for Colonel Rob Parker, your favorite manager. It's
Oh,
gonna
thank
lead.
God. She looks really good. She
That's
looks really good in this thing.
Yeah, that's the storyline behind the match number 4. It is for the tag titles. Harlem Heat with Sister Sherry versus the champions, Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater with Colonel Rob Parker. Before the match, Tony Schiavone he refers to he goes, "Hey, by the way, guys, there's another star from WCW who's gonna go elsewhere to another company. You call the hotline and you can find out who it is." Who was he talking about?
I think Michael D.K. Wall Street.
No. He meant like somebody uh from WCW was leaving.
Oh, probably Vader.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. That's
They
right.
already know. I'm sorry. They already know that Vader's gone.
Yeah, so that's what they're. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, good. I should have put 2 and 2 together. Okay. Anyways, Dick Slater and Booker T, they start the match with Dick Slater getting a beating, but there's no heat in this match because I don't think people give a shit about Dick Slater and
Look, right? I tell you, this was the worst fucking match on the show. I hated this fucking match. This match went. This is.
Let me see if I gave it the worst rating. It's tied for one of the worst matches on the show. Yes.
I'm gonna say that the Renegade DDP match is better because at least it's
Yeah.
interesting. Like it's
Yes.
interesting footnote in history. This is just fucking boring.
Yes.
What did
This is
Bunkhouse
the worst
Buck?
match. Yes. This
What
is the
did
worst match.
Bunkhouse Buck have on the management in this company that he keeps getting these fucking
So
showcases?
I am currently reading William Regal's book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about this. He said during this time, if you recall, almost besides the Nasty Boys, every other tag team was a heel tag team.
Yeah.
And the only ones who didn't get the titles was him and Bobby Eaton.
Yeah.
And he was like, but we were the ones who were like getting to work with everybody because we were so good. Because William Regal and Bobby Eaton are such good workers, right? And he thinks it was a slap in the face that they were never given the tag titles, but you'll give the titles to like Bunkhouse Buck and Stick Slater.
I mean, if I was fucking Renegade, I would consider it a slap in the face. That Bunkhouse Buck, I don't care, is he just looks like failure. He's not interesting. He's not good. He looks like shit. It's like something you need to be moving away from right away. You know, you have Benoit, Eddie Guerrero coming in. Sabu is going to be there for a little bit. Ah, man, it's just fucking, and it just goes on and on and on. And I don't care about this fucking
They just
match
love,
at
yeah.
all.
He's on every pay per view. They just love Bunkhouse, like yeah.
Oh
I
my god.
agree with you. It's weird. Anyways, yeah, there's no heat in this match, but doesn't mean Booker T's not gonna try. He hits his
Mhm.
sidekick on Bunkhouse Buck, and that does get a reaction. It's kind of small though. Uh, anyways, terrible atomic drop spot done by Stevie Ray and Dick Slater. Stevie Ray is not good. I don't. If you ever watch, if you really pay attention to the Harlem Heat matches, it's Booker T who does everything, and
Yes,
Stevie Ray is like just barely doing anything ever, all the time. Booker T,
he
he
stinks.
goes, yeah. Booker T, he falls down the steps to the outside, and then Buckhouse Buck attacks him with the bull rope on the outside, which gets some heat. Booker T takes a beating, including falling on his head in a missed corner spot, and he's really groggy. I was like, that looked devastating. Um, he tangles with Bunkhouse, and he wants to go for a DDT, but Buck like power lifts him up for a body slam, which I will admit that was kind of showed I didn't realize he was that strong. Um, Stevie Ray hot tags in, and he really sucks. He barely wrestles. His punches look like dog shit. Um, Remember, most of this match is Booker T, but when Stevie Ray actually comes in the match, he has terrible looking offense, and he's only in there for like less than a minute. At the end, Rob Parker and Sherry they get into the other ring and they start kissing. And as they're doing this, everyone's distracted. The Nasty Boys run in and they knock Dick Slater out, and then Harlem Heat wins the match. C minus, terrible match. Afterwards, Bunkhouse Buck is mad at Colonel Rob Parker for letting them lose, being distracted and kissing Sherry and allowing them to lose. And Harlem Heat is mad at Sister Sherry because she was kissing Rob Parker. Mean Gene Okerlund, he tries to interview Buckhouse Buck and Rob Parker, and they're all like all mad at Parker, and he's like, "Oh, I can't help it, I'm in love." This was awful. This is stupid.
The best thing was Sherry's outfit. Everything else about it was an abomination.
Yes.
Um, it's again, it's this is what it feels like to me, and nothing in WWE feels like this to me ever. No show. We're out there to kill time. We're just out there to kill time so we can charge you $30 for this 3 hours. The show can be 3 hours. That's all it feels like. And it's like so insulting because I know these guys are not trying to even have even a remotely good match.
hmm I think that's right. Yeah. This was a killing. That was definitely. Boy, did they kill time in that one. So anyway, Mean Gene, after that award-winning interview with Bunkhouse Buck, he decides to have a he recaps all the issues that Arn Anderson was having with Ric Flair, with Ric Flair being so obsessed with the Hulkster, and Arn Anderson paying the price every time for trying to help his best friend. And it leads to them having arguments, which led to this fight. Arn Anderson is cutting a promo and he says, "You know, Rick is like a brother to me. Um, but I'm gonna stand up for myself and I'm gonna fight this guy because he's just been like because of him, he's causing me all this trouble. We're gonna go to match number 5, Arn Anderson versus Ric Flair. I do believe this is the only time these two have wrestled, right?
It's the only time.
Only
And
time they've wrestled.
Arn Anderson was so nervous before this match, he apparently threw up.
Really? Well,
Yes.
that's interesting. And if this is they were building it up as this was the only time these guys ever fought. You got American males, Buff Bagwell and Brian Pillman, Rob Parker, Big Boss Man, Alex Wright, Eddie Guerrero. They're all sitting out there watching
That
this
was a
match.
great way to establish this is a special match.
Yes, that they were like, hey, we got all this. Like, I can't believe it. They had Eddie Guerrero and stuff, and they're not even on this card, but like they're here to watch the match. I did like that. Yeah,
Yeah, like, and it's even like the heels are like, even like, no, well, I want to sit and watch this. Like,
yeah,
I don't
mhm.
want to watch it on TV. I want to watch this live because I never thought this would happen. Because whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, you never thought these two were going to wrestle.
Yeah, they're like lifelong friends.
Mm-hmm. You know what? You know what? I had this thought when I was watching this. They should recreate this when Kofi fights Xavier Woods.
Yeah, I don't
They
think it
should
would
have.
mean as. I don't think it would mean. You know what? I don't think it would mean as much, and the reason why.
I think it will to younger fans. There are fans. If you're four, you were four 10 years ago. Now you're 14. You spent your entire life with these two as a team.
Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
So I'm 14 in 1995, and my entire life, Arn and Rick have been a team. So I think, yeah, I think it would mean a lot to younger people. To us, it doesn't mean anything because I still remember Kofi going SOS, but a lot of younger people don't, dude. People, people are kids now starting jobs, and the New Day is still together. So like,
Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Uh huh.
mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, Arn Anderson, early on, he starts mocking Ric Flair early, doing his strut and stuff, and he slaps Ric Flair. So Ric Flair has to go outside, take a powder already, right away in the beginning. They do some technical wrestling, and then Ric Flair he hits his first chop on Anderson, which knocks Arn down. That first chop knocks him down, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. Nobody else sold the chop like Arn Anderson did.
They did it. Woo!
Arn starts fighting back, but Rick, he tricks Arn Anderson, sends him outside, falling outside the ring, and then he hits a top rope axe handle on uh, Arn Anderson on the outside. And as soon as he does that, he gets up and he catcalls a fan, and he fucking that was so great. He flies with
That
the
was so
top,
good.
hits this fucking great move, gets right up, and he goes, "Hey, you want some of this, baby?" He like, was so good. Um, no, actually, this is what he goes. He goes, "You got a father, baby?" I think that's what he said, and then he
Yeah,
blows a kiss at her. Great Ric Flair spot. Just shows you what kind of character is. He'll do a devastating high flying move, get up and harass a female fan. That was like perfect. She looked so annoyed when he did that too. She was just like, "Ugh."
yeah, he
Um,
doesn't care. Yeah,
yeah,
it was great. Yeah, it was just yeah. So far, this match. By the way, not it goes without saying, this is the best match on the show.
yeah. Arn Anderson, he's gonna take a beating because he is really the good guy in this match. So he's taking a beating, including getting suplex on the floor. But Ric Flair misses a punch, and Arn Anderson starts mounting a comeback. But he
Mm-hmm.
can't hit his DDT. Remember, DDT is his finishing move. It's not the spine buster, it's the DDT. But Ric Flair is just always one step ahead of Arn Anderson, so he can't hit the DDT. Rick even puts on the figure four, and Arn is able to, after he's been in some pain for a while, he's finally able to reverse it. And Arn Anderson also gets a what do you call it, a small package on Ric Flair, which almost gets a 3 count. Arn gets whipped into the like he gets Irish whipped, but he just collapses because at this point he's exhausted. And the referee, as the referee goes to check on what do you call it, on Anderson, Brian Pillman, who's sitting at ringside watching this, decides to get on the apron and starts getting into Ric Flair. And he even like punches Ric Flair and he kicks him. Like it's kind of like an inzaguri. And what do you call it? It hits him kicks him in the back, which allows Rick to kind of get like the momentum from the kick, pushes him towards Arn Anderson, who finally does get to hit the DDT to win the match. This is an A. This is a match that people need to watch. So good. Very well done. I loved it.
Yeah, this match was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking great. And the best thing about this match is that Arn goes over. I think if Rick goes over, this match isn't remembered that well. But I think, because people kind of, to this day, kind of see Arn as a tag team guy. He's not a guy who can be on Rick's level. They always kind of see him as Rick's underling. The fact that he outsmarts Rick, and almost it's like now Arn is the heel and Rick is the good guy, I thought was really well done. And
Yeah,
this
I
was a
think
great match, man. And I'm glad that, because Arn retires in a year and a half from, no, 2 years from now. I'm glad he got to have this match. He said it's the greatest match in his career, and I'll back him up on that. Double A.
yeah, and I think you're right. I think the fact that Arn wins is means more And I also like the way the finish was done. Even though I don't like the bullshit finish stuff, in this case it kind of did make sense because Ric Flair is the better wrestler. He is the better
Yeah.
wrestler. And Arn Anderson kind of wins.
He uses Rick's tactics against him, the dirtiest player in the game.
Yeah, yeah. Because of that little tomfoolery, Arn Anderson is able to outwit Flair and win. And it's kind of comes out of nowhere too, because people aren't expecting that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so and it kind of also makes sense because like Brian Pillman's sitting at ringside, so
And
it's
also like now it's like now like, oh, so they're gonna do something with Brian Pillman.
yeah.
Right.
Now because it leaves you with it's always good when it leaves you with more questions than answers,
Yeah.
after a good match. So yeah, I loved it. I would highly recommend. So far on this show, there's two things you gotta watch: this match and that Gary Spivey Paul Orndorff segment. All right, so this
Yeah.
is great.
Those are the two things you need to watch.
Those two things. Then we get a montage of the Dungeon of Doom and Hulk Hogan, narrated by Kevin Sullivan, recapping everything. And he starts,
Oh,
and
this was
Kevin Sullivan's
horrible.
he's using his funny voice to explain what's going on with Hogan. And, um,
This was
oh
so hokey. So
yeah,
I was embarrassed for Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan, like there's a point like so Kevin Sullivan's like he's narrating like everything that's leading up to this War Games match, and while he's doing it, it's like cuts of stuff like that's happening with him. He gets shocked, like electrocuted by the cage for some reason, right? He starts crushing these dead roses, and he's like, "I'm crushing dead roses," and then he starts smashing action figures, right? He starts smashing toys. Um,
You know what this is like? This is like someone with no talent and someone who's like a boring fucking person, like just a boring guy,
mhm.
and they're ordered to imitate like Bray Wyatt, like not like oh like be weird,
Yes.
and like he has no clue how to be weird. It's so bad. It was like it's so cringy. It's so forced. It's so like, dude, this guy shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame ever, ever, ever. Not even
Yeah.
the little like courtesy wing. I would
Like, keep going. Sorry.
I would if I was Triple H or Vince, I'd be like, no, I know we just put in anybody if they stick around long enough, not this guy. I don't think this guy has any talent as a performer or a wrestler. He's one of the luckiest guys in the world to be put where he is in. He's an
Yeah.
embarrassment. And why Hogan allowed this guy to be involved in his main program? He applied to WWE. He called for a job when WWE went under, and Stephanie said, "Can I see your resume?" I think they did that on purpose
Yeah.
because
Yes.
I would not have wanted this guy in WWE. I wouldn't want this guy anywhere. I think he has zero talent, and it's just a case of I'm not going to call everyone a legend because they just never left, and they also politic their way into power. Like, and
You know
clearly
what
this
it
guy
is?
wasn't that great. The Radicals, remember the Radicals when he got the book again. The Radicals were like, we demand to leave. Like they got a
Yeah.
full. They were like willing to like sit out their contracts to not work with this guy. So
Yes.
what we always talk to people these fucking wrestling insiders, whether it's Jim Cornette or Eric Bischoff, they all talk about what a piece of shit Vince Russo was, what a piece of shit this guy was. First of all, I'll say this: Vince Russo was more talented than this fucking guy on the mic. All right, that's number one. Number two, if Vince Russo is such a piece of shit, why was everyone willing to work with him and not Kevin Sullivan? And number three, fucking just watch this promo. This guy shouldn't have had a job. I'm sorry.
No, you know what it is? It's a lot of like people who want to give him the accolades because he tried. Like I'll give him the credit. He did try, right? But here's the thing, just because you try and you put in the time doesn't
It's
mean
embarrassing.
you should get it. You know what it's like? If you're a comedian and you really suck, you're just not a good comedian. But because you did 8 years or 10 years, you just like, we know he needs to get on TV because he did 8, 10 years. No, you still suck. Like that's just what it is, you know?
Yeah. Listen, he played the game, which is why he had power for so long. He knew
Yeah.
how to play the game, but the fact that he put himself on TV and he acted like this is just, dude. When I saw these four guys walk out, Hogan, Macho Man, Luger, Sting. Can you imagine, bro? Can you imagine the end of '91, Jake the Snake and Undertaker beating the shit out of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and Luger and Sting walk out to save them? Can you imagine the crowd's reaction? Can you imagine the reaction of every kid in America? Like these four now are united. What a fucking deal it would have been.
Yeah.
And nobody cares for this match. Why? Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, exactly. He's like in the forefront of this. Afterwards, after this, they actually show the video of the Giant crushing Hulk Hogan's bike, or with like a monster truck or something like that. So keep in mind, even though the Giant is not in this match, he is gonna make a little bit of a presence. And they recap the package of the Dungeon of Doom beating up on Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan going like, I can't face all these guys, so he has to like get like bring in a team of people. Yeah. Is this the one where Hogan this is the one where so all this whole packaging was like when Hogan showed up at the dungeon, right?
No, that happens later, where he starts
Oh
wearing all black.
no, he
That
shows up at the
happens
dungeon.
after the Giant beats him for the belt in the next
Oh
paper.
yeah, that's right. Because he goes like, "Where am I? Huh, where is this place?" He doesn't do
But
that
then he
yet, right?
starts wearing all black. That is that's around November. It's coming in 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's basically where's the part where Hogan goes, he touches the water and he goes, it's not
Oh,
hot.
but I think that happens after the show.
Okay, that part is so funny. Anyways, the Dungeon of Doom is a whole stable of bad guys, and Hogan's like, I can't fight these guys by myself, so I gotta bring in a team. And Mean Gene is with Hogan, and his whole team. They're all in camo gear, and they all each take turns doing a promo. But Hogan's like, no, I gotta get the last word in, so he gets the last word in. They're all mugging for the camera. They all want the camera shot. And we're gonna go to our final match. It is the War Games match. Uh, we get the Dungeon of Doom, which is Zodiac, the Shark, Kamala Harris, Meng, and Kevin Sullivan versus Randy Savage, Sting, Lex Luger, Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart.
Oh,
Sting and
Jimmy
the
Hart is
Shark.
such a loser.
Yeah, this is such. I mean,
That's another thing. You got four of the coolest guys in wrestling history, and Jimmy Hart's jumping up and down. They put him in the fucking camo outfit. He looks like a pedophile. Like, what are you doing? What are we doing?
yeah. No, by the way, I was right. That was a scene. It was like when Hulk Hogan, like somehow ends up in the Dungeon of Doom area, and he's
Oh,
like,
so
"Where
it's
am I?"
before the show. Okay.
Yeah, and then like there's this funny part where he touches the water and he goes, it's not hot. Made me laugh.
It's not hot.
Yeah, he screams and he jerks his hand back and he goes, it's not hot.
I love it, Daddy.
Who touches water like that? Ah,
It's not hot, brother.
it's not hot. The water is not hot. Ooh, shit, the water is not hot. Right? Anyways, I think even though it's really cheesy, it's kind of worth watching if you want to get a good laugh at how cheesy wrestling can be.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you should watch that segment, the buildup of Hogan and the Dungeon of Doom, instead of actually watching this War Games match, which is atrocious.
Fair. It
Sting and the
starts off
Shark.
not bad, then it just devolves.
Nah, I don't like these War Game matches. Sting and Shark, they start the match, and Sting has the edge, including doing some flying attacks, and he even body slams what do you call it? The Shark, who's Earthquake. But the second time he goes for a body slam, Sting collapses because Shark's a big fat guy and he starts beating up on Sting. But then he's like able to like crotch the Shark on the top rope. Then the Zodiac comes in And I don't know what his gimmick is supposed to be, but his selling is just like super hokey. So like whenever he gets hit, he's just like, whoa.
Yeah,
Like rolling.
how is Deepcake becoming a worse and worse worker as the years go by? It's like he's regressing every time he
Yeah,
gets in the
he's
ring.
regressing. Yeah, yeah. I get it. He had that injury, like that, I guess, like, but man, he just getting like like
But
Austin.
like, do you
Austin
forget how
had
to work?
Yeah, like see, Austin had that injury, and he realized he had to change his style, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he, even though he did less moves, he was somehow better, right? This guy is just getting worse. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like he's every year he's forgetting more and more about wrestling. He's so hokey, but anyway, him and the Shark they start double teaming Sting, and then Savage comes in, makes a save. But the heels they start pulling on Sting's arm and Savage's legs from outside, the other side of the cage. Kamala comes in, then Lex Luger.
Kamala Harris comes in the campaign.
Kamala Harris comes in. She's gonna lose, by the way, and this one
By
as
the
well.
way, I don't know if you picked up on this, but when Kamala walks in the ring and starts like doing shit, I'm like, he's such a better worker than Earthquake and Zodiac. Like,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's just like he's working with what he has to work with, but man, he's like way better than those two at this point.
Yeah. So Lex Luger, he accidentally hits his teammate Randy Savage, and they actually end up start fighting. But then Meng comes in and he starts beating up on everybody. Then Hulk Hogan comes in last, and he comes in. Right away he just throws salt in Meng's eyes. He throws salt in Kamala's eyes, Zodiac's eyes. He starts he starts like I'm like, what is Hogan the one throwing the salt? I don't get it. He's such a fucking cheat. It's just why. And then
And
he
he and
just
like they've been building Ming up for months, and Hogan just takes him out in 3 seconds.
yeah,
Like,
just takes him out, just throws salt in him and beats
yeah,
him up.
yeah.
Dude, these guys,
Why don't we? Hey, Sting, go sell for this guy on fucking Worldwide. I got this, you bitch.
yeah, it basically everybody in this match was just waiting for Hogan to come in. Hogan comes into the ring and he does like a minute of offense, just beating up everybody, and then he puts a camel clutch on Zodiac and they win the match. Like he just comes in, runs around, just throwing salt in everyone's eyes, beating up everybody, puts on the camel clutch. It's over. The match is over. And then
It's
Kev, go ahead.
you know what though? You know what'd be funny
Yeah.
if AEW did this with one baby face just destroying the Death Riders, or that's now the name of the BCC. You okay? Is the BCC coming for you?
Yeah, no, I'm just turning on the light. Well, who would you pick? Who would be the Orange Cassidy?
No. Like
MJF.
comically destroys them like this, like just
MJF.
completely. But
It would be
Sting,
MJF.
I
No,
would just
no,
Sting.
no, 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 no. You know who it should be?
Hogan.
The
Actually,
re-
Hogan right now. It should be Hogan.
no, the returning Young Bucks as good guys, and they just fucking wipe everybody out.
No, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega. He
Yeah,
just
yeah.
comically. No, it is funny because like the thing with Ming was like they've been building him for a year, and Hogan's just like, "Fuck this! Like, get out of
Yeah.
here, you bum! Like,
So
hey
yeah,
Haku, suck my dick."
it's terrible. It's like Hogan doesn't even want to work.
You know
He
what the
don't
other
even
thing about this? Like the
yeah.
cage, Savage gets his leg out from under the cage, and they have to. And I'm like, God, this company, man. Like, there's so many little things that they do wrong that Vince would never allow,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the difference. And that's why Vince ultimately won because, like, you have, like, dude, this should have been a big deal. This should have been like
It should
these
have been
four
a big
guys
deal.
as a unit. This should be a massive deal all over the world, and no one talks. And it stinks. It's poorly booked, and no one talks about it.
Mm-hmm. So after the match, Kevin Sullivan tries to leave because part of the match is if Hogan wins, they get like to be alone in the cage with Kevin Sullivan to have sex with him,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But he tries to leave, but they have this pretend security to try to hold him back. It's like literally one guy, and Kevin Sullivan's like, I can't get past this one scrawny guy. I can't get past this one scrawny guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's so cheesy. Sting grabs him and then throws him into the ring with Hulk Hogan. Hogan starts beating on Kevin Sullivan, and everyone goes, you know what? We'll leave Hogan with Kevin Sullivan. We'll all leave. Everybody leaves. Then the Giant comes down, and he gets in the cage, he chokes Hogan, and he like snaps his neck, and all the good guys come running back like, "Oh crap, we should have never left," and they try to attend a fallen Hogan. I give this match a C minus. It was awful. It was dog shit.
I give everything is C minus. I did like the fact that Giant jumped into the ring. That looked great. That looked fucking great. The way he jumped into the ring.
But it was just like.
But everything like, dude, Hogan. I know Big Show gives Hogan a lot of credit for helping him, and I do think Hogan made Hogan all the credibility Big Show had for this entire WWE run was because of what Hogan does for him in these first few years. But also Hogan only brought him in to recreate the Andre the Giant thing,
Yeah, but because like let's be honest though, he did it. He didn't do it for like selfless reasons. He did it for his own game.
He wanted an Andre that he could just always go back to and beat the shit out of.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't.
But
I don't
man, yeah, this stinks. This is not a good ending. It's so funny because the Ric Flair Arn Anderson thing, that is a WCW that everybody wants. That is a WCW that everyone needs. And this like fucking dollar store WWF booking doesn't cut it, brother. With Hogan. Just doesn't cut it.
It doesn't. You're right. You're absolutely right in your assessment that it was like there was matches for the sickos, but then they were trying to do like a poor man's WWF storyline stuff, and it's like that's kind of like what the mistake that AEW is making. It's like only WWE can do their stuff. Don't try to emulate it. Do your own thing.
The thing about it is because I consider the NWO stuff very WWE, but it had an edge to it that WWE stuff didn't have. And
I don't think that was WWE stuff. You know why? Because WWE or F would have never done a storyline like that.
But yes, but like they eventually do. Everyone has tried to recreate the NWO.
Because they're copying from WCW.
Yeah. I mean, right now they're trying to do the NWO like 25, 30 years later, and it's garbage with the Death Riders. With fucking garbage. But
it is bad. Yeah, it's bad.
But like, yeah, but they went. So they went. Okay, so they went to a sports entertainment direction with the NWO, but it just was like different, man. And then they found the winning formula. And they're on the road to the formula because I watched the first episode of Nitro. It is formatted very differently than this pay-per-view. It is treated very differently. Whoever, if you want to say it's Bischoff, if you want to say it's some producer, whoever was formatting and putting together the Nitros was a genius because it feels so much different than this stupid fucking thing. Maybe like, I don't know. But yeah, they're on the way. WCW's on the way. You wouldn't know it from this main event. They're on their way.
Yeah, I would say overall, even though this pay-per-view had a lot of garbage in it, there were still a lot of good stuff in this match, like including the Flying Brian versus Johnny B. Bad match. The Gary Spivey stuff is hilarious, and the Arn Anderson versus Ric Flair match is good. So far up to this point in 1995, I would say this is probably the best WCW pay-per-view so far in 1995, which is a really low year for wrestling.
The low bar to cross. All right, guys. Yeah. Not next week. Later on this week, we're going to do In Your House 3, which is the Dudes with Attitudes versus Yokozuna and Bulldog, and we'll talk about that next time. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We'll see you then.